Testing. Okay. So, good afternoon. Right. We'll start in a few more minutes. Right? People are still, because we are starting a bit early today. Right? So we are starting a bit about 30 minutes early today. I think people are still sticking to the old time today. So Satyak dekak yai before they get the message that we are starting at 3:30. Is it better or not 3:30? Bit better, eh? නැත්නම් දෙකටම නැති වෙලාවක් නැත්නම් when it gets 7:30 when you go home, it's almost dinner time. එතකොට ඊළඟට afterwards you can't do much work නේද? Right? So, yeah. That's why I sort of shifted a bit earlier, right? Okay, we'll start in a few more minutes, right? Online people, can you hear me? Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes? All good and clear? Okay. having a cold, so it's not like a deep color, right? I'm having a cold that I probably got from the ward, right? Okay, right. Online people, all good? Can you hear me clearly? Yes? Send me a message. All good? Yeah, so we are coming from a new location. Online people, it's not very dark and bit gloomy for you anymore. Otherwise, the previous hall was a bit gloomy, right? Not for the physical people, but for online people, I thought they were feeling a bit under the weather, so I decided to shift here for a bit of a cheerful, right? Better, no? Better, okay, right. That's okay, right. I think still people are thinking the starting time is 3:30, sorry, 4. Let's have a small chit chat, I guess, right? I don't usually do those stuff, right? But it's only our third week, ne? Right? It's only our third week. Ahead on it? Yeah? All good. Emma, too far away. I'm not. So the advantage for you is I need usually glasses to see, okay? When I'm driving even, I usually use glasses. So on the stage, on a stage like this, I can't see much, right? So hey Michael, it's not blurry out there, right? I can see you, but yeah, I can see you that you're there. Okay, so that's a bit of an advantage, right? Anyway, so 3:30, right? At around what time do you get home from school? All of you are close to Negombo, right? There are online people. I mean, it doesn't matter to them. They don't have to get ready and come back, right? So around what time? Gather in here. 2, 2:15, 2:30 maximum, ne? 2:30 max. So 15 minutes to have lunch and a small power nap, 30 minutes and 15 minutes travel time. Yeah, that's a sort of these power naps. I learned that I'm still learning the technique. Power naps Power naps they are not like 2 hours, 3 hours. Okay, power naps are maximum 30 minutes to 40 minutes. A power nap is like a sort of a rapid charge. Okay, so particularly in my sort of daily routine, if I'm in an exam season, I need a power nap daily, right? So because if I just chit chat with you, if I just tell you my routine right now, so I have to go to Homagam Hospital, so it's a bit far away, right? And there's the petrol issue, so I have to drive there, and I have to be there around 7. Okay, so I'm currently in a gynecology and obstetrics. What is gynecology and obstetrics? Yeah, Singaling, anyone? Yeah. What is Singaling, obstetrics and gynecology? Obstetrics is prasava, gynecology is narive. Yeah, so I'm at a that's so kind of word these days, and yeah, so it's very eventful. Yeah, I think I told you last week also, right? That so there are two aspects to it. The one side is there are very young girls who are pregnant, right? And our consultant is saying, so the average age, අපි නිකන් අහනවා, හරි අම්මා දැන් මේ පළවෙනි බබාද කියලා අහනවා, like around 23 years of age. නෑ තුන්වෙනි කියලා, right? Around 23. Right, so they married at 18, had the first baby at 19, and 23 වෙනකොට third one. Yeah, so actually financially they are not very stable, and even nutritionally not that stable. But if you think physiologically, that's the best age. That matters to girls usually. So men, do you know? Okay, men, when do they stop being fertile? Men cannot have a child after what age? Don't know. What age? 30? No, definitely not 30. 50. There are no dads above 50. 60? What do you think? There's no age limit. Till you are dead, a man can produce sperm. Okay? A man can produce sperm until he's dead. Right? And I mean, so he starts producing at around age 12, 13, then he'll keep on producing until he's dead. 90, 100, doesn't matter. Females usually average 50 වගේ වෙනකොට reproductive age is over. And we don't usually recommend mothers to have babies above 45, 40 years. I think I told you the statistics. 20 to 30 years, a child with genetic disorders is like 1 in 8,000 or 10,000. Best stage. Sorry, even more than that. 20,000, no, very low percentage. Sort of a genetic defect. Then 30 to 40, it's like 1 in 5,000. 40 to 45, it comes down to almost 1 in 1,000. 45 panapugam, it's almost 1 in 10. Okay, that you can have a baby with a sort of a genetic issue. What are the genetic issue? I think on the very first day I told you. Down syndrome, yeah, Down syndrome. You can have. So that risk increases with the age of the mother, not the father. Okay, not the father. Okay, so that's a bit, I don't know, unfair or whatever, but that matters because mother has to do 99.999% of the work of having a baby, right? The father is only involved in a small duration. Yes. Okay, that's why the mother has to be very healthy, nutrition and ඔය හැමදේම තියෙන්න. So that's why our consultant, he's always mocking us. So usually average when you pass out, if you went to the medical faculty on the first attempt, first try එකේම ගිහිල්ලා, and usually our batch was delayed because of the COVID stuff, and there were a few strikes. So about 2 months, 3 months, no academics. We were just at home. So even without any delay, the batch that was just came out, they didn't have anything. So there was like one of our seniors showed us, from the first day they started academics and the day of graduation, exactly 7 years. Exactly 7 years. Till they graduated, till the day they took the certificate. Exactly 7 years. Okay. So imagine, so you came to faculty around 21, 28, 27 වෙනවා. Okay, even if you don't get repeated or batch missed or මුකුත් තුන්නේ. So 27 කියන්නේ close to 30. So okay, I mean, a girl can get married, proposals හොගාලා, right? Once you get out, right? For a female doctor, so many rich guys proposals doctor කෙනෙක්ව marry කරා. කොල්ලොන්ට තමයි, right? කොල්ලොන්ට ඉතින් අපිට vehicle එකක් ගන්න loan එකක් දාලා එහෙම තමයි, because you are not earning for 7 years. Okay, you are not earning for 7 years, no salary. Then the intern salary for about another year, negligible. Okay, කියන්නත් ලැජ්ජයි, right? It's less than 1 lakh, and 24 hours you are on call, 24 hours you are on duty, and about every 2 weeks you get an off day. Okay, so that's why our consultant is saying you are out and you are past the reproductive age, don't have children. So that's the issue. So I mean, keep that in mind. That if you want to go to medicine, it's a good profession, it's an honorable profession, but not an earning profession. You can be earning, but it takes time to be a consultant. The average age is 35 when consultant batch top superior meter consultant කෙනෙක් වෙලා foreign training වෙලා ඇවිල්ලා ලංකාවට ආවම දෙයා අර දුෂ්කර සේවය දාන consultant ලව දුරට දාන. Okay, I think even in the news that servers there's a consultant who has to cover Kilinochchi hospital, Mullaitivu, and someone ඔය වගේ hospital තුනක්, like separated by about 100 kilometers every day, and he gets only 25 liters of petrol. Right? එහෙම situations තියෙනවා. So my point is, so yeah, just a few more minutes. Okay, my point is, it's not an easy life, right? If you become a doctor or a vet or a dental surgeon, even a scientist, for your research, you have to go everywhere. Molecular biology karat, applied science karat. For your research, you have to go everywhere. You have to do, if you want an honors degree, 5 years, then you have to do masters, PhD, right? I mean, it's for a good cause. It's a very good job and it's an honorable job, but you have to have a good work ethic, right? For that, you have to sort of start training yourself. Our monkey power naps. That's because I get off around 1:30, 1 p.m. Okay, then I have to come to faculty for the practicals, and we have tutorials. So they ask us questions. Okay, then I have practical. So I get off at around 5, and so today where am I? Right? So I'm in Negombo. So I'm not there, right? So that's I have to deal with it sometimes. Why I'm not there? I have to give medical. So okay, right? But on the weekends, on the Saturday also, there's an issue. I have to go to the hospital. And on certain appointments, there's night duty. Okay? As a medical student also, you have night duty. We have to go there around 6 and have to be there around 10. 10 ඉස්සරණ 11 වගේ වෙනකන් හිටියා. There was a new law because girls are not allowed to stay after 10. Security issues. That's the other thing. Okay? So, girls, medical students, they are at risk with people around the hospital. Okay, that's a very sad situation. What to do? So particularly they are targeted when they have a doctor badge here or a medical student badge here. So extra attention, right? So we always look after our batchmates, but there's a risk like that. Okay, so boys, you have to go to medical faculty. Okay, for the security job. Right. Anyway, yeah. So as I was saying, start to learn how to rest your body and mind as much as you can, right? The best way to sort of drain your mind or to needlessly tire yourself or get a headache is using the phone, doom scrolling, right? YouTube Shorts, TikTok, everything is now designed to scroll. දැන් Instagram එකේ අලුත් එකක් තියෙනවනේ වෙනම reels page එකක් තියෙනවනේ. Yeah? Instagram එකේ දැන් වෙනම reels page එකක් තියෙනවා. What is it designed to do? To keep on scrolling. That's sort of very bad, even worse than a drug, right? So I always, if I feel like, okay, ඔන්න මම scroll කරනවා more than for 10 minutes වගේ නම් I put it down. I take a nap. Anything other than scrolling, because why? It's going to give you a headache, waste of time, right? So as I was saying, if you feel like you are not being productive, try to sleep. පාඩම් කරන්නත් බෑ කියලා හිතනවා නම් understandable. Try to have a small nap. මුලින්ම ඔක training වෙන කාලේ අමාරුයි to wake up within 30 minutes. So keep an alarm, tell your mother අනිවාර්යෙන් 40 minutes වලින් හැරවන්නකෝ 20 වලින් හැරවනවා, right? So tell your mother or keep an alarm or try just train yourself. මේ ටිකේ පොඩ්ඩක් train වෙන්න. Take a power nap and how to stop yourself from overly using the phone. ඔය වගේ පොඩි habits ටිකක් හදාගන්න. Right? Those habits are going to be investments ඉස්සරහට. Right? To stop you from getting burned out. Right? ඉස්කෝලේ ගිහිල්ලා ක්ලාස් ඇවිල්ලා ගෙදර ඇවිල්ලා ආයි පාඩම් කළා, හෙට තියෙන පේපර් එක කළා, හෙට තියෙන පේපර් ක්ලාස් එකට ලෑස්ති වෙලා යන්න වගේ full packed day එකක් එනකොට ඉස්සරහට it's nice to be prepared. Okay? Got it. Right. Let's move on to today's lesson. Online people, all good? Right? Yeah, so where were we exactly? Where did we stop? We talked about all the properties of water, ne? Right? Yeah? Water ivarai. There was a water homework, ne? Water essay එකක් තිබ්බනේ. Brand new? Okay. Brand new people, okay, get a tute from him, okay? New, right? Yes. Okay. So, take out the tutes, right? Online people, there's a PDF in the group. I'll send the PDF again to the chat. Anyone who didn't receive this? I think the deliveries are on the way, right? Because everyone is trying to find excuse. Now even the fuel is there. but deliveries are delayed. Okay, I'll online people listen up. I'll send the tute to the group as well. Sorry, the Zoom chat as well. If you are brand new or didn't receive, please quickly download it. It will be delivered to you very soon. Hurry. Right. Let's, okay, without further ado, we'll move on. Okay. So, how about your resource book situation? දන්නව resource book එකක් ඕනේ කියලා ඇහෙනවනේ. Yeah. All of you by now know you need a resource book, right? So every day I'm going to sort of sort of try to persuade you to purchase this. Okay. So if you can get a printout of it from the PDF, I think it will be better quality. But from the NIE, from the Ministry of Education, there's a bookshop outside. You can get it from there. But don't worry, for about another 2 weeks, you can survive with this. Okay. Right. Then right. So today we have to move on to our main organic compounds. Okay, let's start the lesson, and while the lesson is going on, let's talk about the other stuff. Yeah, there's a question, can we print the 2017-18 print? No, right? Whenever you are getting a printout, check, I think that's edited in 2022 or in the first page, corrected in revised in 2022. What does it say? Anyone who has the resource? What does it say? Is it revised in 2022? Yeah, revised. Print that version, no, buy that version. Okay, 2022 revision එක ගන්න. Okay. Yeah, essay එක බලමු. Okay. Right. Let's move on to carbohydrates. Okay, page number 11. Right? Page number 11. Carbohydrates. So what do you know about carbs? As I told you, if you are living on Earth, right? Earth එකේ ඉන්නේ, you are carbon based. Okay? If you are living on Earth, you are carbon based. Maybe in other planets, other elements based life forms are there. But on Earth, you are carbon based. So that's why we say almost all life is based on organic molecules. Organic means molecules that are containing carbon, right? So we talked about the main inorganic molecule in living systems, that is water. We talked about water in so many different properties. Properties 4කට we narrowed all the properties down. Okay. So now we are moving on to our proper organic molecules. So you have 4 main classification or classes: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. I know you had those in O levels, but here we are going to a bit more detail and also a bit more examples how these molecules appear in living organisms. You will see there are a lot of examples, particularly if you take polysaccharides, a lot of new polysaccharides examples you will learn. Okay, right. Let's just read it. Okay. Right. So as you know, when I tell you this is a definition, you need to highlight it. Okay, highlight it in a special color. Are the definitions, nirvachana? Those are like the law. Okay, right? You cannot write them differently in the paper. So you have to be very accurate. when you're writing a definition. Harida? Okay. So other points, just use any highlighter that you like, just for theory points. Okay. Most abundant group of organic compound on earth is carbohydrates. Most abundant. Okay. If you take the sort of the mass wise, carbohydrates are the dominant. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ ලන්ච් එක ගත්තත් කාබ්ස් නේ වැඩිපුර තියෙන්නේ. බත් එකයි වැඩිපුර. Right. Okay. Right. Major elemental composition is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Highlight that. Major elemental composition is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Major elemental composition is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrates of carbon contain the same proportion of hydrogen to oxygen, which equals to 2:1 as in water. What does that say? Carbohydrates, the word itself says these are carbon compounds that are hydrated, having water groups. What is the ratio of hydrogen to water in hydrogen to oxygen in water? If you take H2O, it's 2:1. This sort of a golden ratio is going to be found in all carbohydrates. Any doesn't matter what class. Okay. So based on that, you can give a general formula. Again, a general formula means you can apply this formula to any carbohydrate and get the number of hydrogens and oxygens. Let's write it down there. The general formula for carbohydrates is, okay, the carbon number is sort of the dominating thing. Carbon number is the dominating thing. So CX, H2O, it's a fixed ratio. It's a fixed ratio within brackets, which can also vary. Y. Write it down there. CX H2OY is the general formula. Okay. Next, keep reading. Three major groups of carbohydrates are monosaccharides, disaccharides and polysaccharides. Generally, carbohydrates include include sugars, which are monosaccharides and disaccharides and polysaccharides. So let's do a small classification. So in this lesson, we do a lot of classifications. Okay, right. We can go to a classification like this. So as they said, what are the sugars, right? So carbohydrates you can have as sugars, and what is the other one? Sugars and polysaccharides. Sugars and polysaccharides. Everyone can see, yeah? Sugars and polysaccharides. So let's focus on these sugars for now. Okay, sugars and polysaccharides. Sugars, what are the two groups that they mentioned here? Monosaccharides and monosaccharides and disaccharides. Then when you think of the word sugar, what comes to your mind? මොනවගේ property එකක් බලුවට එන්නේ? Sugar, sweet නේ? Sweet. Yes, සීනි බෝතලේ, right? Sweet. Sugars, we have some common properties that we'll talk about for the monosaccharides and disaccharides. Okay. So let's keep on reading about monosaccharides. So let's first focus on monosaccharides. When we want to die, and then poly, we'll finish. Right? Monosaccharides, simplest form of carbohydrates, having general formula as So, they have their own simplified general formula, which is, yes, what do you think? Yeah, CH2ON. So, they have a 1:2:1 ratio and the N number can vary. Harith. Okay, monosaccharides. Harith. That is the general formula for monosaccharides and liaganda, right? Having general molecular formula, CH2ON. Okay, CH2ON, right? Then we will move on to another further classification of monosaccharides. We will move on to a further classification of monosaccharides. That is, we can classify them in two ways. Okay, you can classify monosaccharides in two ways. That is, okay. Before that, before moving on to a classification, let's talk about what their properties are. Okay. Properties of monosaccharides. What do you think the properties are? Monosaccharides are sweet tasting. Because why? They are sugars, ne? Yeah. Sweet tasting. Then sugar can hitan. What are the other things of properties of sugars? Yeah. What? Water soluble? Right. What did you say? Sweet tasting. Crystalline can. What else? Yeah. Crystalline. Okay. Like a crystal. I'm hard of hearing as well. Okay. Right. Okay. Then water soluble. You can dissolve sugars in water. Water soluble. And finally, we are going to learn of a new property, right? That is called reducing sugars. Did you have reducing sugars? No, ne? I'll explain today what are these reducing substances. Okay. The fourth property, all are reducing sugars. All are reducing sugars. Right. Dot tunai තියෙන්නේ එතන, right? Page number 11. Right. Let's write down. Sweet tasting not that essential. මේ තුන ලියාගන්න. Crystalline, water soluble, all are reducing sugars. Okay, නිකන් sugars are anyway all sweet tasting. හරිද? Okay, I can. What are the properties? Crystalline, water soluble, all are reducing sugars. I'll explain this property. Okay, reducing katawa. Okay, all are reducing sugars. Right. Then I told you we can classify monosaccharides in two ways. Okay, based on two properties, you can classify monosaccharides. I mean, let's say not properties, criteria. Okay, based on two criteria, you can classify monosaccharides. You can classify them based on their carbon number. Carbon number we can classify. Okay, carbons. So you can say in a monosaccharide, the carbon number according to your syllabus 3 to 7 venakang you can have. 3 to 7. So according to, I'll say just carbon number which can be from C3 to C7 venakam pulu. But in your resource they have given only up to C6. Okay. So what are the examples that they have given? So if it's 3 carbon, 3 nan tri ne, trioses. Okay. Trioses, what are the examples? Glyceraldehydes. Glyceraldehyde, there's an example, phosphoglyceraldehyde. Can you highlight phosphoglyceraldehyde? All those these compounds you will learn in detail in this lesson. Okay, isarata apita cellular respiration enawa, photosynthesis enawa. Okay, G3P glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate ovoma, right? ඇති වෙන්න එනවා. So මේ වෙලාවේ I don't need to explain, right? So there's 3 carbon monosaccharides, those are called trioses, and the family is called glyceraldehydes. There's a family, and there's a derivative of that called phosphoglyceraldehyde. Okay, ඉස්සරහටව හම්බ. Okay, එතන there's no need of දැන් කියවලා දුන්නත් ඉතින් අමතක වෙනවා, right? So no need, right? Then tetroses, හතරයි නම් tetra, right? Tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta. ඔහොම යන්නේ. Hexagon, pentagon, ඔහොමනේ ගියේ. Yeah. Tetros, the example is erythros. Erythros is a sort of a plant sugar, right? Few plants produce it, so rare in nature. Okay. 5 carbon pentoses, ribose, deoxyribose, ribulose. මේ ribose, deoxyribose අහලා තියෙනවා නේ somewhere. Where? DNA. What is DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. එතකොට මෙතනින් කවුද likely to find in DNA? Deoxyribose. How the RNA? What is the full name of RNA? අර මුලකුරු නැතුව නම සම්පූර්ණ නම? Ribonucleic acid. So what do you have in RNA? It's ribose. Okay. So you will find out those in upcoming when you are talking about nucleic acids. Okay, right. Hexoses, hexoses nang very familiar ne, glucose, fructose and galactose. Okay, heptoses no need to know anything. Onne hatak wenakan tiyenawa kiyala danagatta ne, right? That is classification based on carbon number. Second way of classifying, okay, man kiwane bio class kiyala okkoma chemistry physics okkoma ugannan wenawa. Okay, right? So the other classification you can do is you can classify monosaccharides based on what we call as a carbonyl group. Okay, what is a carbonyl group? You can see here, right? Carbonyl group. මේවා කියලා දෙයි ඔයගලන්ට, right? හැබැයි in almost another year, organic chemistry පටන් ගන්න තව අවුරුද්දක්වත් ඇයි. Okay, based on the carbonyl group, okay, you can classify monosaccharides. So what is the carbonyl group? I will explain. What is a carbonyl group? A carbonyl group is, imagine you have a, there's a carbon skeleton, okay, carbons connect වෙන්න පුළුවන් මේ. This group, C double bond oxygen, is a carbonyl group. But that is just the carbonyl group. Based on where you have this carbonyl group, right? You can have 2 types. Okay, I'll right? Based on the carbonyl group, you can have 2 types as aldehyde and ketones. Okay, so if you are talking of an aldehyde, the our group carbonyl group location is like this. Konakine. Okay, right. So behave there's a carbon chain nohoma without a terminal leg. It always has to end with a hydrogen. There's a double bond. Oh, this is an aldehyde group. So there is an aldehyde group. A ketone is actually what I drew is a ketone. Okay, mehema carbons, yana gamang. There's a double bond or somewhere in the middle. Depathara thiyenne carbons. If you take an aldehyde group, one bond is a hydrogen. Okay, so this may take a aldehyde, may call ketone. Okay, right. So based on the aldehyde and the ketone group location, you can classify. I mean, you only need to know the hexoses. Hexoses, aldehyde, the ketone, the kinaka vitarai danaga. Okay, that's all you need to know. So under aldehydes, you have yes, glucose and galactose. Okay, so glucose, galactose, aldehydes. Who is the remaining hexose? Glucose, galactose, fructose. Fructose. Fructose is a ketone. Ketose. So it's a aldehyde or a aldose sugar. Ketone or a ketose sugar. Okay? Sugar katawa you will, I don't think they use in organic chemistry. Apita tamai bio karnakota tamai this sugar katawa because we are learning of living things. The organic chemistry karna they don't taste chemicals. Make a sweet tasting the killer barn and I thought make a sweet tasting it's not a property here. Okay, right? Chemical property and yes, chemical rasabal acid degako sour tasting killer right? Okay, right? So it's not a proper chemical property, right? Now this is right? So, right? That's how you classify monosaccharides, right? Now let's read the rest of the tune and. According to the type of carbonyl group, they are classified as aldoses, ketoses. Can you highlight the examples? Online people, when you're asking questions, can you send to the main chat? Otherwise, I am going to miss your questions. Okay. In aqueous media, monosaccharides are in ring form. Okay. So there's this property, water soluble. Water soluble. So if you can dissolve something in water, so we learned about water last week, that means they are surrounded by water molecules and polar bonds are formed because of the water polarity in the polar things, ionic things can dissolve. Yeah? Glucose, polar or ionic? Glucose, polar or ionic? There are, what are the two things that can dissolve in water? Polar, ionic, both polar, ionic. Yes? Ionic sodium chloride. Lunune, sodium chloride becomes sodium and Cl minus in water. Glucose is a polar molecule, polar. What is an example for both polar and ionic? Some enzymes such as lysozyme, right? Ade sekali addi balu. Okay. Right? So they have two physical forms. They have glucose powder. Any question? You have a glucose powder. Glucose you have in powder form. Sugar you have in crystal form. So if you focus into glucose powder, you have chuti crystals, glucose crystals. That is a solid state. When you dissolve these monosaccharides in water, they form a ring shape. So those ring structures are given. Okay. So sucrose and fructose and glucose ring structures are given. You don't need to memorize these. Okay. No need to memorize because it's bio. Okay. All good. That's all about monosaccharides. I'll explain this reducing part after disaccharides. Okay. Any questions? Shall we move to disaccharides? Right. Disaccharides are sugars formed by joining two monosaccharides by a glycosidic bond. Highlight that on a glycosidic bond. Right? Glycosidic bond. So, for the 4 types of organic molecules that I told you, proteins, carbohydrates, lipids and nucleic acids, you are going to encounter 4 types of bonds. Carbs වලට you have glycosidic, lipids වලට you have ester, proteins වලට have peptide, then nucleic acids වලට you have phosphodiester. ඔය වගේ 4ක් තියෙනවා. Okay? How they form, how they connect with each other. Right? So highlight glycosidic bonds are found when monosaccharides join with each other. Okay? Read, okay? Glycosidic bond is formed by the removal of a water molecule from 2 adjacent monosaccharides by a condensation reaction. Highlight condensation reaction. So, condensation, we will talk about those reactions soon. Keep on reading. A water molecule is formed from the OH of one monosaccharide and the hydrogen from the adjoining monosaccharide. Okay. So, වතුර එකක් හදන්න what do you need? We'll talk about, I mean in chemistry you will learn about water structures and everything, right? It's a usually OH minus and H plus are the usual connections that are forming water. Okay. So, one monosaccharide will give a OH and the other will give a hydrogen to form water, right? So, to form a disaccharide, what is the basic thing you need? Monosaccharide දෙකක් ඕනේ. Disaccharide දෙකක් හදන්න monosaccharide දෙකක් ඕනේ. Two monosaccharides, so di, right? Okay, go to the next page. Go to next page, page number 12. Online people, this page. Online people, other mukut complaints naha neda. The other thing about this gynecology board is every day there's a small problem, right? Every day small complaints, right? They have come for a massive sort of a problem, but okay, other than the problem, headaches, right? Every problem is there, churi problems. If you go to a male ward, okay, right? That's more dangerous. Male ward, male patients, they don't tell anything. අමාරුයි කියලා කියන්නේ. Okay? There was an incident, a male patient was having a massive heart attack in the ward and they Hansela, no, he's having a ST elevated myocardial infarction. But he's not saying anything. හරි? එබර ඉදරවා කියලා කියන නිකන් ලැජ්ජයි වගේ නිකන් කරදරයක් වෙන්න ඇති කියලා එහෙම කටවහන් ඉන්නවා. Okay? That's good. I mean කරදරයක් නෑ තමයි, but if he dies it's a right, it's a lawsuit. Okay? Right? Because in the hospital setting we have a ward එකේ admit කරපු patient කෙනෙක් if you එහෙම මැරෙන්න බෑ. Yeah, male patients don't complain, female patients complain too much. Okay, so අර අපි උදේ ward round එක යනකොට so ඒ වගේ තමයි online, right? No new complaints කියලා අපි ලියන්න හරි ආසයි. හරිද? Right? No new complaints අද දවසේ, right? Male side එකේ no new complaints. Okay, female side එකේ තියෙනවා එහෙම constipated, headache, diarrhea, කොහොමද? Right? Anyway, okay, right. Okay, better. Okay, better. Okay, good. Right. Maltose and lactose are reducing sugars and sucrose is a non-reducing sugar. Hari. So, before that, we need to fill this section here, that is the properties of disaccharides. Right, let's write down the properties of disaccharides. Okay. Right, let's write down water soluble, ඒවත් sweet tasting තමයි, okay? හරිද? Water soluble, crystalline, Okay. Water soluble, crystalline, sweet tasting, write down. Then some are, okay, you can say එහෙම කියන්න පුළුවන්. No, just let's write down with the examples. Okay, so what are the types of disaccharides that we need to know? You need to know about sucrose, maltose and lactose, right? Those are the three types of disaccharides you need to know. So those two types of disaccharides we can classify into two, I mean they have different properties. Okay, your maltose, harida, maltose and lactose are reducing sugars. Maltose and lactose are reducing. Who is the remaining one? Sucrose. This is a very important property we will test for in practicals. Are the non-reducing sugar. More sucrose is non-reducing. I will explain what is reducing and non-reducing. Okay. Right. Write down these three properties. Okay. Then පොඩ්ඩක් O-level memory එක refresh වෙන්නත් එක්ක let's write down how these three types of disaccharides are formed. කොහොමද හැදෙන්නේ? Yes. How do you make these disaccharides? It's always glucose, right? Glucose plus glucose. What do you get? Maltose. Glucose plus we give galactose. What do you get? Lactose. Glucose plus fructose, sucrose. I think I have given you two, ne? Glucose plus glucose, maltose adenati, can you see? Can you see one gives one oxygen, sorry, one glucose gives the OH and the other one gives the hydrogen. Then you have sucrose formation, one the glucose and fructose, right? Can you highlight the glycosidic linkage? Glycosidic linkage, there is a bond. Okay, glycosidic linkage. All the people who just joined, the tut is available in the Zoom chat. Okay, tut is available in the Zoom chat. Write down what is the only one missing? Lactose, right? Can you write down the lactose formation? Lactose adenati liyagan taggal. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah. So what is this reaction? You can call this reaction as condensation. No? We call it condensation. Ne? You can also call it a dehydration as well. Because why? You are losing water. Ne? Dehydrate vela kiyana water loss. Okay. So you can call these reactions as dehydration reactions as well. Ekath mataka tiyaganna. Okay. So did you write down the properties? Liwane? Here? Okay. So monosaccharides and disaccharides done. ඊළඟට තියෙන්නේ polysaccharides. Any questions? Any questions? No? So next we have to talk about polysaccharides. So if I quickly summarize, how is the summary? Carbohydrates are of two types, sugars and polysaccharides. Sugars are called sugars why? Because they are usually sweet tasting. Sugars are two types, monosaccharides and disaccharides. Monosaccharides means only one sugar unit. Okay. So anyway, sorry, carbohydrates have a general formula like this. Always the hydrogen to oxygen ratio is a constant, 2 to 1. Okay. Then talking about monosaccharides, these are the properties. You can classify them in two ways, based on the carbon number or the position of the carbonyl group. Based on the carbon number, you have carbon 3 to 7. Based on carbonyl group, you have aldehydes or ketones. Remember the examples. Okay? They can ask you, what are aldose sugars, what are aldehydes, what are ketone sugars, what are the ketones, ketose sugars. Example එක මතක තියෙන්න ඕනේ. Okay? Coming to disaccharides, they are composed of two monosaccharides units connected by bond. What is the bond? Glycosidic bond, which is the result of a dehydration, online people, or a condensation reaction. These are the properties. You can have a variety of reducing and non-reducing sugars. Sucrose is the non-reducing sugar. Okay. So before moving on to polysaccharides, I will explain to you what is this reducing and non-reducing story. Because we will talk about this again when we are talking about, there's a practical, okay. So there's an upcoming practical session that I will do. Identification of reducing sugars is there. So I will bring some examples. I can bring some fructose with your honey, you can bring maltose with your, glucose and fructose is the only test I do. Then sucrose is there, right? So reducing sugar practical is going to happen, and also protein identification and lipid test and starch identification. There are some practicals. Okay, so we'll do those. Class I'll demonstrate. Okay, so that's upcoming. What is this reducing and non-reducing? What do you mean by reducing and non-reducing? Make all have you heard of this concept? Imagine there's someone, a molecule or a molecule, take, right? If this molecule is giving an electron, what do you call that? He's doing what? He's undergoing what? Someone electron at there. It's called undergoing oxidation. Eh? Yeah. So there's another one waiting to receive this electron. Electron ganna balan kenek. That's someone who's taking the electron. What do we call him? He's undergoing reduction. He's undergoing reduction. New concept in puluang, but just practical right? So someone who's giving electron is undergoing oxidation, someone who's getting an electron is undergoing reduction. Okay. So make mehema always for something, this sort of reactions to happen, may then mean no. Kauruvat oxidize without someone to take a electron. So no one will undergo oxidation if there is anyone to get reduced, right? Natagyak an electron denne ganna kenek innawa nan vitarai. Yes, yeah, electron එක දෙන්නේ ගන්න කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් විතරයි. මෙහෙම කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. මූ ගන්නෙ මූ දෙන හින්දා. Yes, he undergoes reduction because he is giving. So it's a connection. Okay. So you can say this Mokahari is undergoing oxidation because he is asking for it. Ne? Give me an electron. So you can say this person who is undergoing reduction is causing oxidation in him. So you can call this one an oxidizing agent to him. This black Ekira who is undergoing reduction, he is an oxidizing agent. He causes oxidization in this one. He causes oxidization. More electron එක දෙන්න කියලා push කරනවා. So he is undergoing reduction, yes, but he is a oxidizing agent. He is causing oxidation in someone else. Yes, Hari. So, what do you, so if you take the other way around, we talk about reducing sugars. That means what? Someone, okay, if you want to reduce someone, what do you have to do yourself? If you want to act as a reducing agent, you have to oxidize. ඔයා electron එකක් දුන්නොත් අරුව reduce වෙනවානේ. Yes, right. So reducing sugars වල වෙන්නේ, okay, reducing sugars are then what? They are undergoing oxidization. They are undergoing oxidation. Someone else is undergoing reduction. They are reducing agents. Okay, right. Then in the practical, what we use for this practical is, I'll erase this. Okay, what we use for this practical is a reagent. Okay, what we use for this practical is a reagent. Reagent එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ in the lab sort of like a fixed chemical. අපි practical එකට use කරන fixed chemical එකක්. It's a reagent. What is the reagent that we use? Benedict's solution. Okay, Benedict's solution. Right, Benedict's solution කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා in the lab. Benedict's solution is a solution that contains copper 2 plus aqueous. That's a basic medium, right? Copper 2 plus monopartite, aqueous, blue, ne? Blue color. Yes, copper sulfate solutions are blue, ne? Dekala tiyena, right? So this solution is blue. I'll show you Benedict, okay? Yalla wenna na blue color, okay? So when you mix this copper 2 plus with the reducing sugar, මෙතන ඉන්නවා දැන් reducing sugar කියලා. අපි ඒක red color එකකින්. There's a reducing sugar is here. අපි ගමු glucose, okay? There's a reducing sugar somewhere in the mix, okay? අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් into the Benedict solution we put a reducing sugar and heat it. So there's a reducing sugar. What is that reducing sugar going to do? He is going to give an electron, ne? He is reducing, he is going to reduce him. He is undergoing oxidation. What's going to happen is, you are going to get an ion called copper plus. Electron එක දුන්නාම positive charge එක decrease වෙනවා. Copper plus. This copper plus is unstable. What is he going to do is, he is going to react with oxygen and produce an oxide Cu2O. Cuprous oxide, red colored, brick red colored, precipitate. What do you mean by precipitate? That's a solid that is going to settle down. Test tube එකේ යට you can see brick red color, gadol part. What happened? The reducing sugar gave an electron that reduced the copper 2 plus to copper plus. Okay. That's how reducing sugar works. Okay. If you like, you can write it down here just for now. මෙතන මේ පැත්තේ, right, in the tube, but in the practical seminar we'll talk about this, right? Right, let's write a small statement. Today bullet එකක් වගේ මොකක් හරි දාලා ලියන්න. Okay? Write down. Online people write down about reducing sugars, okay? Write down. Reducing sugars are capable of reducing sugars are capable of reducing sugars are capable of reducing copper 2 plus, reducing copper 2 plus, reducing copper 2 plus to copper plus, right? Right? Copper plus by undergoing oxidation. By undergoing oxidation. By undergoing oxidation. Reducing sugars are capable of reducing copper 2 plus to copper plus by undergoing oxidation. ලියලා මේ විදිහට small චුට්ටි note එකක් ලියා ගන්න, but we'll talk about this in detail in the practical seminar. Online people, quickly take it down. Okay, any questions? Okay, එතකොට ඒකත් හරින්නේ. Reducing sugars, now you know. Okay, right. Let's move on to polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are sort of very unique because they are very different from monosaccharides and disaccharides. That's why we put them in a different class, no? Right? So polysaccharides actually do a lot of roles in the living body. Okay, they perform a lot of roles, so that's why we need to do a nice classification for polysaccharides. Okay, we need to do a nice classification for polysaccharides. So I'll start them as almost like a main topic. Okay, polysaccharides. Let's read. Polysaccharides are macromolecules and biopolymers. Highlight. Polysaccharides are macromolecules and biopolymers. Okay. What do you mean by those two words? A macromolecule and a biopolymer. A macromolecule, simply put, is a molecule that has a large molecular mass or molecular weight, right? Molecular mass you will have to calculate in chemistry. We have done, no? Atomic mass, atomic number, mass number, right? Okay. So, so macromolecules, they have a large molecular mass. And biopolymers, what do you know about polymers? What are done polymers? Polythene, polyethylene, then polypropylene, you know, polystyrene, polyisoprene. Polyisoprene is rubber? Yeah, no? Natural rubber. I don't know. All over the polymers. You know. So biopolymers, biological polymers. Okay, so these polythene and Teflon or polypropylene, right? Those are artificial polymers. These are biological polymers. What are the properties of a any polymer? They are endless, no? They are connected by a large number of monomers. Polymer monomers. So if you take a polysaccharide, what are the monomers of a polysaccharide? Monosaccharides. Okay. Polysaccharides are made of a few hundred to few thousand monosaccharide subunits. Variable length, right? Polysaccharide can be of variable length and size. Okay. Properties of polysaccharides. Let's write down. Polysaccharide properties. Polysaccharides, write down, water insoluble, water insoluble, then non-crystalline, not considered as sugars. Water insoluble, non-crystalline and not considered as sugars. Hari? Right. Then one of the most important things about polysaccharides is how you classify them. Classify kalla you need to take into your minds the classification with the functions. Okay. So that's what you have to do. Let's see. Okay. So you can classify polysaccharides based on two ways. Right. You can classify them. You can say based on architecture. Right. You can based on architecture you can classify. Right. Architecture කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Sort of the structure of it, no? Right? Architectural means how you the design of it. Right? So based on architecture you can classify. Okay? Then based on function you can classify. Architecture and function. Okay? So let's see what are the subdivisions under architecture. You can have linear polysaccharides, linear. Okay, you can have linear polysaccharides and branched. Linear polysaccharides and branched. Right. Page number 12, bottom balanna, there's a diagram. There's three types of polysaccharides I have given there, here in this diagram. Right? Yeah. What are the things, what are the polysaccharides you can do? Starch, glycogen and cellulose. Right? So there's a person who is having some potatoes in their hands. So in the potatoes what do you have? Starch. Potatoes you have starch, no? Yeah? Online people listening, right? Right. Potatoes you have starch. Starch is a, what do you think? Starch is a mixture. Okay? Starch is not composed of a polysaccharide called starch. It is actually a mixture of two polysaccharides that are called amylose and amylopectin. Okay. So you can see on the top you have amylose. Amylose is unbranched. Then below you have amylopectin which is somewhat branched. Okay. Me somewhat branched I will explain, right. So you can say amylose under examples. Amylose is a linear polysaccharide. Amylopectin branch polysaccharide. Then in that person's muscle arrow pointing at their muscles, you have glycogen. Glycogen, can you see? Very branched. Oh, nikam branched, okay, right. So glycogen is a branched polysaccharide. What do you know about glycogen? Why do you have it in muscle? Glycogen is our way of storing polysaccharides, okay. Our storage polysaccharide is glycogen. Where do you have most of your glycogen in the body? The muscles, okay. Like mass wise you have muscles, in the muscles you have more glycogen, but if you take density in a single location, in the liver you have the most glycogen, right. Liver එක නිකන් අර it's like a petrol tank for glycogen. Tankiye glycogen ගොඩක් තියෙනවා, but in the muscles you have, like, because you have muscles everywhere in the body, they have glycogen everywhere in the body, so muscles contain more glycogen, but it's distributed everywhere, right. Glycogen is your way of storing glucose. Glycogen is composed of glucose, so that's how you store glucose. Okay. So it's very branched. Oh, branched. Okay. Then cellulose. Cellulose is from like a plant leaf. The plant leaf, okay, they have zoomed into a plant cell, and in the plant cell wall you have cellulose. Cellulose is like nool lage, strings. Okay, cellulose fibers are like strings, so they are linear. Okay, so cellulose is linear. Cellulose is a linear polysaccharide, right? So that is the first classification, that is based on architecture. Cellulose and amylose is linear, glycogen, amylopectin, and there's another derivative of cellulose called hemicellulose. Hemicellulose නිකන් cellulose ගේ යාළුවෙක් වගේ, right? He's sort of there in between cellulose fibers to give some additional support, right? නිකන්, right? සහයෝගයට ඉන්නවා. Hemicellulose, but he's somewhat branched. Okay, and hemicellulose can have a diversity. නිකන් ගහෙන් ගහට පොඩ්ඩක් hemicellulose වෙනස් වෙනවා, right? From different plant variety to plant variety, hemicellulose can have different forms. Okay, so that is one classification way based on architecture, right? The other way you can classify them is, I told you, function. Based on function, you have polysaccharides as structural and functional, right? Structural polysaccharides and functional. Structural and functional. Okay, right. What are structural polysaccharides that you know? What are the structural polysaccharides that you know? I mean, we just talked about these two. They are found in the plant cell wall. Cellulose and hemicellulose are structural. They form the plant cell wall. So you can say cellulose, hemicellulose are structural, right? Okay. Then what else? Storage. I'll talk, yeah. Sorry, based on function, right? It's the other one is storage, okay? Structural polysaccharides are there and storage, okay? Storage polysaccharides, right? There's another structural polysaccharide that you need to know, that is called pectin. I'll talk about this pectin very soon, okay? Pectin details I'll talk about, right? So those are your structural polysaccharides. Then storage polysaccharides, these two, right? Amylose, amylopectin get together to form starch. Then glycogen is the other storage polysaccharide. So glycogen and starch. Those are the storage polysaccharides. There's another one, let's write down, called inulin, that we'll soon study. That is a way of, it's another storage polysaccharide that is found in certain dahlia tubers, right? Certain types of alajati, right? Tubers. You can find a polysaccharide called inulin. Okay. Right. In page number 13, there's a space on top of the page. Shall we write down this classification? Properties live and classify polysaccharides based on architecture and function. Architecture, you have two types as linear and branched. Function, you have storage and structural polysaccharides. Those are the examples. අපි ස්ට්‍රක්චරල් එකට තව එකක් ලියා ගමු. chitin. Chitin. Okay, online people, any issues you are facing? No, right? Any questions you have? There's a random question. Is abortion free in Sri Lanka? Sorry, legal in Sri Lanka? Nope. Can't abort. Okay. I mean, if I start on that topic, mulu dawasama ek gana katha karana puluwan, so I won't. Right? End of story. You can't abort any type of pregnancy. Masaki sati kiyak wunat you can't. Okay. So, all of you are in the group, right? So, if you are not in the Headway physical students group, give your number. Okay, you will be added because it's important to have a group to give you updates, right? PDF එකක් දාන්න, small short that I make, upload to YouTube. Online people, we already have the community, so there you have all the updates, right? The last one of structure is chitin, okay? Chitin, 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 okay? You'll see with time you will understand this. What matters at the end is the syllabus coverage, okay? With syllabus coverage, what you need to have is with the paper practice, you have to go ahead. Otherwise, I mean, the proper balance is difficult to have, right? Particularly, you will see with the massive syllabus that we have, syllabus coverage with paper practice is a challenge, right? So that's why at the end of the tudes, I have included past paper classified past paper questions, right? So that's why you don't have to waste any further additional time to do past paper questions, right? So what I guarantee is syllabus coverage with the basic understanding to do questions by yourself, right? Otherwise, okay, syllabus se cover karla, when you go to answer a structured essay question, you can't find the definition anywhere. Hari matakai, you have classified structural and polysaccharides like this, but you have not been familiarized with this resource book, right? That's what's going to happen, right? Okay, I mean, particularly online people are being exposed to a lot of classes these days. Free sessions are happening everywhere, right? The biggest risk is if you get too distracted with too elaborate stuff from the resource book content and also the subject matter with a lot of elaboration and out of subject things, you are going to lose focus in this early stage, what bio is, right? At the end, bio, what matters is your expertise on the resource book, okay? That's what's going to matter. So that's why I keep it brief and we go on with the teaching. Okay, I mean that's what's going to matter in the long run. මේ මුල් කාලේදී too many elaborations වලට if you get used to it, you're going to go sort of be පොඩ delulu වෙලා like you are going to have a wrong idea about bio learning. That happened to me, right? In the first year that happened to me, right? Then after I got term test marks, second term test, third term test, grade 12, I mean I go to classes and I like the class, but my marks are not there. That's because I understood the class is not giving me or training me to the pattern I need to study, right? So the truth is, master the resource book, do questions, that's all, right? That's what I'm trying to do in the theory class. Okay, so when we start the paper class, that's going to be, I mean, everything we discuss in the theory class will be again revised in the paper class. So I start paper classes very early, right? For the 2027 people, they are only about 7 months ahead of you, right? I already started their paper class, right? Almost 1.5 years before their exam I started. That was actually a bit delayed because of some of my exams, right? I was planning to start it in February, March wage una, right? Anyway, so your paper classes will also start very soon. Anyway, right? So done, right? We'll take a small break soon. Okay, all right. Let's talk about page number 13. Come to the bottom of the page, polysaccharides, right? So let's talk about some functions with the monomer. Okay, එකපාර වැඩ ඉවරයක් කරමු, right? Starch, okay, stores glucose as energy source in plants and chlorophytes. Highlight. නිකන් කොළ පාටින් පුළුවන් නම් highlight. Starch stores glucose as energy stores in plants and chlorophytes. What are chlorophytes? Put an arrow there and write down green algae. Chlorophytes are green algae. Green algae. Chlorophytes are green algae. Then glycogen stores glucose as energy source in animals and fungi. Fungus has glycogen stores. Okay, so we as animals in our muscles and liver we have glycogen. Also fungus have. So right, නිකන් ජොලියට කියන්නේ, right? Fungus has a lot more similarities to sort of complex life than we think it is. Last of Us බලලා තියෙනවා? Yeah, there's a TV show about a fungal infection that controls the brain and like you become a completely different, right? That's because fungus are also eukaryotes, which is having a nice nucleus like us. They have proper DNA and they have sexual and asexual reproduction. Okay, they are complicated, right? So another thing similarity you found here, they also have glycogen as the energy store. So metabolically similar, right? Okay, right. Inulin stores fructose, highlight fructose, inulin is fructose, as energy source in dahlia tubers. Right, and sorry, so before that, on the monomer side, there's a topic called monomer, so that's a column for the monomers. So starch and glycogen both. What is the monomer? Glucose. Okay, please write down the monomer is glucose. Okay, starch and glycogen දෙන්නම හැදිලා තින්නේ by the monomer unit glucose. Monomer unit glucose. Okay. Then inulin, you can write on the monomer side, it's a fructose. Okay. Inulin is composed of fructose. Fructose. So those are the structural polysaccharides that you need to know. And right, come to, those are storage polysaccharides, those are storage polysaccharides. Then come to structural polysaccharides, again cellulose you have, cell walls of plants and chlorophytes. So starch is how you form their cell walls. Sorry, how you store glucose, right? Cellulose is how you form their cell walls. What is the monomer of cellulose? Glucose. Monomer of cellulose is also glucose. Then pectin. Pectin's monomer, write down galacturonic acid. Galacturonic acid. Pectin, it's galacturonic acid. Galacturonic acid. So what is the function of pectin in the middle lamella of plant tissues? Hurry. What is middle lamella? We'll talk about that. So imagine your plant tissue, right, in a leaf or somewhere. A plant tissue is composed of these plant cells. No? It's composed of plant cells. Plant cells are, imagine bricks, right? They are like bricks, right? So these bricks, how do you build a wall from bricks? You can place bricks on top of each other, but that's not strong enough. You need to paste them. You have to glue them together. Cement you have to use. Similarly, in plants, you have a cement in between plant cells, middle lamella. Okay, that is called middle lamella. It is composed of pectin, which is a cement between plant cells. Okay, middle lamella. Pectin in the middle lamella of plant tissues. What is the monomer? Galacturonic acid. Then hemicellulose in the cell walls of plants. I told you it's like a friend of cellulose. Hemicellulose ke the monomer is, it can be a variety, I told you, right? Pentoses වෙන්න පුළුවන්, pentoses or hexoses. You can have a variety of monomers for hemicellulose. Okay. Then peptidoglycan, don't think about it that much. Peptidoglycans we'll encounter when you are doing bacteria, right? In the cell walls of prokaryotes, you know bacteria have their own cell wall. Okay, plant cells, okay, they have bacteria have a cell wall, right? That's why bacteria are very difficult to kill sometimes. Right? Bacteria are sometimes very well protected by a cell wall. Okay. So peptidoglycan is a polysaccharide that you can find in bacterial cell walls. Okay, no need to know the monomers. Okay. Then chitin is composed of a monomer called glucosamine. Okay, glucosamine. Online people writing down, right? Okay, glucosamine. Where do you find chitin? Cell walls of fungi, exoskeleton of arthropod. So fungus also have a cell wall. What is an exoskeleton? I think I told you last week, right? If you can't see the skeleton, that is a endoskeleton, inner skeleton. අපේ skeleton එක පේන්නේ නැද්ද? Can't you see the skeleton? I just showed you my skeleton. Teeth වල පේනවනේ. Teeth is part of the skeleton, right? So that's the only area you can see the skeleton. Right? නැත්තම් නිකන් කකුලක් කැඩලා මෙහෙම බෝන් එකක් එළියට fragment එකක් එනවා නම් ඔන්න yes you can see the skeleton. That is not natural, right? So endoskeletons are covered by soft tissue, right? Exoskeletons are outside. නිකන් අර night ලගේ armor එකක් වගේ එළියේ තියෙන. Plates, right? So can you see here? There's an insect. Yeah, that is something. He's doing something. Online people, what do you call that? මොකක්ද යාර කරන එකට කියන්නේ? Imagine you live inside a skeleton, a hard shell. That means you can't grow, right? Continuously, you are limited by the skeleton. So if you want to get bigger, after some time, the skeleton becomes too small for you. You have to get rid of that skeleton and grow a new one. Again, molting or ecdysis, right? Ecdysis, right? That means the old exoskeleton is left behind and a new one is generated. Okay, so that is called ecdysis. You can write down here diagram. Okay, an insect undergoing ecdysis. Insect undergoing ecdysis. So what is that skeleton composed of? Chitin. It's also called molting. Molting. It's like the common word. Ecdysis is the proper one, right? Insect undergoing ecdysis or molting. So I call molting. So until they grow a new one, they are very vulnerable, very weak. Are a knight without his armor. Okay, and also because their skeleton is outside, their sort of muscle movements are done by that exoskeleton as well. So they can't move much. Very weak. Okay. You might have seen in the night when you go to the kitchen, maricha karapotta krss kala payagunawa, right? What is it? Crispy, right? Why is that? It's chitin in there, right? So the cockroach is dead, but the shell is there. Okay, it's because it's resistant. Ape skeleton එක වගේ, the skeleton of the cockroach will remain for some time. Okay, right. So we'll talk about monosaccharides and disaccharide functions after a small break. Yeah. Online people, any questions? Let's take a small break. There's a question, how many units are asked for a first term test? Usually the entire first lesson is asked, second lesson is asked. Yeah, and in some schools, third lesson, first parts are also known to be questioned. Okay, multika chuttak kaha, right? So we have some content to cover, right? Okay, small break, 15.